Hello, hello, hello. My name is Joe Kay. Welcome to Researchers Radio Live here at freedomslips.com. Got my main man Tim C with us tonight. Tim C, how's it going up there in the Northeast tonight, my man?
It's going all right. It's wet.
Wet? A lot of rain? Did you get a lot of rain or did you get a lot of ice?
We got both. Got a lot of rain and a lot of ice.
Right on.
In fact, there's a state of emergency in Orange County, New York, for a good portion of the day. I don't know. It might still be. I don't even know. But a lot of road closes, a lot of pileups. It's pretty nasty. Actually, my father slipped and cracked his head on the concrete this morning.
No kidding. Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, and then the ambulance came and took him to a hospital that was probably 3 towns away. I'm not really sure why they took him there, but and then him and my mother were stranded there because of this.
Is he okay?
Weather was so bad. Yes, he's got a concussion. He's all right.
Okay. All right. Wow.
Yeah,
well, I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, yeah. I mean, honestly, it all worked
I
out.
heard this weather has really caused quite a bit of damage. I know even through Pennsylvania, I believe there was a large pileup again.
All on Route 84. Yeah, there was.
I wouldn't be the least bit shocked.
All over this entire Northeast area. Pretty messy.
So, Tim, I'll tell you what. My weather has been wet here. It's been the weather. I mean, temperature-wise, has been pretty moderate, but it's been wet. It's just been overcast, and I hate it. It's disgusting. I like the sunshine. I want the sun's warmth. I need it.
You guys below freezing down there?
Hell no, dude. I was golfing in shorts today, bro.
In the rain?
No, it wasn't raining today. It was just overcast. It's just, but it was probably 62 to 65, somewhere in there. Again tomorrow, but tomorrow I heard I might see the sun. I heard. You know, the Son of God.
Isn't today Sunday?
Tomorrow I'm going to see the Son of God, yeah. Today is the day of the sun, yeah. But I'm partial to Moon Day. I know people aren't big fans of Monday, but I'm a big fan of Moon Day. I'm a fan of the moon. I do appreciate its influences upon me.
Joe likes the full moon.
Well, I'm aware the moon influences many great things beyond the tide. I'd be foolish to think that's the only influence. I believe it's an excellent example of an influence of lunar activity, but I don't believe it's the.
Well, what is the deal? And I've done some reading on this. What's your take? Why does the moon not rotate? What do you think?
I'm going to say that is completely false. I'm going to say that the moon does rotate.
Just really slow?
It does. It rotates very slow, but it rotates in its precise proportions. The moon is rotating accurately. Its proportion and its distance to us is proper. This is the reason why when the moon gets between us and the sun and there's an eclipse formed, the moon is the exact size of the sun behind it in proportion. But the moon does rotate. Imagine a beach ball with many colors, vertical, going up and down on it, right? Mm-hmm. And you see it in the distance. If you're looking straight ahead and you turn your head to your left and you see this beach ball coming at you, and it's not turning, right? And the first color you see facing you is blue. And as the beach ball passes directly in front of you, the blue, you're going to see much less of the blue. And now as that beach ball passes you to your right, eventually you're not going to see any more of that blue that was originally facing you as it was coming past you. It rotates very slowly, that the same area is always facing at us. But that's a fallacy. I believe that's something that people heard probably on Ancient Aliens and keep saying it.
You know what I've noticed?
And I think I am going to write a show for real calling the Anti-Ancient Aliens program, the Lost Human Knowledge, the lost idea of human thinking. Um, it's just killing me. The things that they're taking away and chalking up to aliens these days. Hey, I don't mind.
So
I don't mind alien influence and talking about it, but stop taking away things that humans put a great deal of endeavor in life works into with great purposes to benefit mankind, and chalk it up that because we don't understand it today, that an alien came here and did it. That's all I'm saying.
Patrick English in the chat room, he made a comment. He said, it does rotate exactly with the Revolutionary period.
Well, Patrick is a true scholar and a gentleman. Thank you very much, Patrick, and I'm grateful to hear from you. Thank you. Yeah, it does rotate. I mean, I hear it all the time, and oddly enough, I don't even say it anymore because people argue with me about it, and it's just I don't know. A simple example with like I just tried to do. It's very hard. Sometimes I do wish I had a television program just for the sake of showing a demonstration on so many things.
What would be a really
but just a simple demonstration with a ball would really show someone that it has to rotate. I mean,
I think that there should be some kind of experiment done showing other moons on other planets and seeing how they rotate and see, because that might better explain it to someone, because then they would take it as not just, okay, well, the Earth is the center of the universe type mind frame. You understand it on a better level when you have a different perspective.
Right. Well, absolutely. Sometimes a visual perspective aids a great deal in the benefit of understanding. Mm-hmm. And thus, to the early teachers, this was the benefit of art. This is why they were taught art and symbols. They understood that once you get into it, you don't have to physically look at let's say, how we read a word or sentence. We don't actually have to physically read out each word and understand what it's trying to say. When it came to symbols and art, it was just a subconscious. So you didn't even have to think about it. It was just it all came together. But those were the early teachings. Actually, even in Christianity, or even in the early Christianity, Tim. So you and I have talking a little bit recently on quite a few things. So it turns out a few people along the path in history may have changed the writings of Christianity. Can you believe this? Have you heard of such a thing?
Quite often, and it's been a pretty common topic on our show.
Excuse me, wait. Are you talking about the divine word of the Lord?
What I'm talking about is
the word etched in stone to Moses on Mount Sinai by the Creator himself.
I'm referring to the let's control by fear and provide
because for a second there I was worried.
Yeah. All right, I'll take the helm. Go for it.
No, I don't even want to be the pilot. Well, we know things have been changed, and it has been for many, many years, going back as far as we have recorded history. We know that many rulers, in one degree or another, for whatever the situation, have tried to erase other peoples or civilizations, whether it be a victory, whether it be for control, whatever it may be. It's happened many a times. And believe it or not, it still happens today.
And who suffers? Academia, history.
Every time. Every time.
The
well,
truth.
Really, we all do, as a whole.
Right.
Because the shameful thing is, it's what we have. We have the people at the top who know things, who are. I'm absolutely certain there are so many things that they just. If they started revealing these things, people would start realizing, like, shoot, I'm just being herded. I'm just a sheep here, and my shepherd could care less. But we have to say, hey, we need these ways to keep everyone in control, because really what it boils down to is keeping everyone in control, just like everyone please go about your normal lives, like not a dictating control, But if I were to just say, everyone, just please I'll take care of the problem here. Just everyone, just go about your daily life and calm down. That's a very difficult thing to do. Once you tip that balance right there, it's very difficult. And we're talking about, a worldwide thing. Well, the Western world, we are controlling in one degree or another to the general population, regardless what people think. If they don't understand it or not, hey, that's cool. And I'm aware of it. I'm not happy with it, but I don't know what to do about it. So we know throughout history, many things have been changed. These were the purposes of book burnings. We know St. Jerome changed many great things.
The Inquisition.
The Inquisition, absolutely. I mean, just right here in the era of the 1500s alone, so much was changed. So much was changed. This was when the Bible really started, excuse me, this is when it started getting printed in other languages. And each language really kind of had its own little interpretation.
I would even just say that the fire of the Library of Alexandria, the several fires, I would imagine there was probably reasons of the same, nefarious reasons really, for those burnings as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Julius Caesar burnt a portion of it, or at least
absolutely, sure.
Aurelian did, and so did there was some Coptic pope that did it in the 300s.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, this is what ultimately led Constantine to just fleeing and starting a whole new city on the edge of the empire, of the known empire at that time. And to be clear, that continued to be the Roman Empire with Caesars. They were the Roman empires. And then in the year 800, the Roman Church said, hey, we're not going to acknowledge you anymore. We're gonna have our own emperor now. We're gonna start our own line of emperors, and thus it was written. So let it be written. So let it be done, Tim. And then we had Charlemagne, and we also were introduced with Charlemagne, which I really, darn it, I told myself not to get into it, but also a lot of people don't know, Tim, is. Under Charlemagne, our calendar system was manipulated a great deal.
Right.
And it's known today. We think it was all changed from Julian, the Julian Gregorian change in the 1500s, but there was a few changes that happened. Dionysius, there was one in the 500s where the calendar was changed a little bit, but nonetheless, under Charlemagne, calendar was changed pretty good. But, I have one example that, and I'm just not even going to give the year at the moment, but there was a political race for the imperial throne of Rome in a number of years ago. And there was two people going for it. And one of the guys, they each had coins struck for that year to commemorate that year. That's how they were marketing that year because it was actually a big year. So we'll get to it. And what's interesting is we have one of the contenders for the throne. His coin says what we know of as the year 248 AD. Okay?
Right.
His contender's coin for the same race, same year, they were battling each other, is the year 1001. So that's a big difference right there. And these coins were made that entire year. They were not a flaw. There was two different dates being used in the Roman Empire.
Well, I mean, I know Judaism, well, we'll just say the Hebrews have their own dating system.
Yeah, the Hebrews have their own dating system, and they're in the year 5640 something. Mm-hmm. But I always bring up the Eastern Roman Empire that we know of, the Byzantine Empire. That's what we know of it. Their calendar today would be, well, they hit their 7,000th year because the scriptures say at the end of 6,000 years, that's when the earth will be consumed in fire. And so the end of 6,000 years would have been the first day of the year 7,000, which in the Byzantine calendar, the New Year's Day of the year 7,000 was the day Christopher Columbus set out to discover the New World. So October 1st, 1492, in the Eastern Roman Empire, would have been the day of the returning of the Lord, and would have also, they were looking for the Lord to bring the New World. That's when the return of the Lord was supposed to reveal the New World. And it's oddly enough that what did Christopher Columbus set out to discover? He went out to go find the New World.
Yeah.
But on the same day that the New World was supposed to be brought to us, so people often don't even understand or know all that story that at that time, the Byzantine calendar, that still went on. That calendar was used in still all of Eastern Europe and some countries, including Russia, up until the late 1700s. They were still using that calendar. And so when in their calendar, when they were saying like, hey, next year at this time, the Lord's supposed to return. And oddly enough, that same year, this is when they had a fantastic meteorite come in. Albert Dürer writes all about it. And it came in the shape of a delta, apparently had some markings on it. And it said Christopher Columbus, he writes of a little something in his diary that they relate to this, but I don't believe that's what they were referring to. Anyhow, the dates have been, they've been changed a little bit, and I really didn't want to get into it too much, Tim, because for me to explain it the way I would like to, I would really like to prepare for that. But we all know the dates have changed a little bit. Mm-hmm. In the year 700, no one thought it was the year 700. Really depended where you were. That's what it boils down to. And some people use the 19-year calendar, the moon calendar. No big deal. I love it. I'm a fan of the moon calendar.
Yeah, that's how we get on this Monday. Wow.
Moon Day? I don't acknowledge the word Monday, Tim. It's so mundane.
Right.
Yeah. So, this brings us to early teachers. You and I have spoken. We're familiar with the gentleman. For people at home, there was this cat who lived a number of years ago. This dude's name was Origen. And pretty clever dude. I guess some people under the roof of the church would say, hey, that's one of our church fathers you're talking about right there. Well, by George, I am. That's the dude. That's the dude we're going to talk about. And interesting guy, Tim. What do you know about this? What do you know about the guy? Lay a little bit on me. Set him up for me.
Well, he was born in the 200s. Correct me if I'm wrong, or was he born in the 100s? I ain't got the date down, but
no. Tim, you're absolutely right on. Yeah.
He was born in the 200s A.D. He was born to, and this is up for question whether he was born to pagan or Christian parents.
Well,
depends on your source.
And I understand it, but also to me, I would say at that time, what's the difference? Right?
To me, the difference is his what his influence was.
Well, what I'm foreshadowing to is that we haven't had a complete transition. Because he's one of the authors that changed things. Mm-hmm. We haven't quite made the transition to such things as, when Eusebius says, when St. Augustine says in his book on the true religion, if a few things were changed, the Platonists would become Christians, and the pagans and the Platonists and the Pythagoreans.
And by a few things being changed, you mean?
And the followers of Zoroaster, they were all right there at that time. And Origen was one of the people over a course of, let's say 200 years, let's include everyone in there, that changed so many things that they jammed so many of those early followers into one thing by force.
And I guess where we're leading to here is, well, part of it basically is that there are so many different ideas and well, you have the Trinity, the Holy Trinity. There's just these biblical, really, they're doctrines that more or less have origins in other places in history and in writing, and sometimes there's plagiarism, sometimes there's just borrowing, and sometimes there's
fraud.
Then there's fraud. And
well, what's interesting is we have someone like Origen, where we know a lot of his books were burnt up, and we know he wrote some 2,000 plus texts that a lot of them went missing during the because it was not happy times. These people were living on the edge. But
Origen was declared a heretic.
Oh, no doubt about it. No doubt about it.
Mm-hmm.
But when we have some of his earlier works that exist, and Tim, you and I, this was one of the PDFs that we had earlier too. But nonetheless, one of his earlier books where he writes about Christ, a chapter on Christ, and he's trying to describe Christ to you, to me, to the reader, what Christ is, who he is. But he doesn't. He's not interested in the idea of Christ being a person. He understands that it's a representation, no doubt. But if we just want to stick with history, and he uses several examples how Solomon tries to explain Christ to people. Well, let's just stop the bus right there, Jack. Because Solomon lived a whole hell of a long time before Jesus did. Okay, let's just slow down right there. And we'll take it from there, where he just goes through a whole bunch of people who explain Christ on what he does and his influence, how he teaches you. And it wasn't until much longer, much later, that we started saying Jesus, that's was put in later. And Tim, we'll just touch a little bit. There's even something you had mentioned to me several days ago about Apollonius. Do you recall?
Yeah, I remember we were discussing that.
Yeah, I don't know if you remembered what you had pulled up, but there's a few things that have been changed, no doubt, and we'll hopefully get to the bottom of it soon enough, one by one. But we had Apollonius of Tyana, right? Mm-hmm. Or Apollonius, if you will, Apollonius the Nazarene, born in AD 2, and he died in AD 99. And
that is a ripe old age for a man of that time.
Lived a long time. Yeah, and his history and teachings appropriated to formulate Christianity. One of his claims is the original Gospels of the New Testament were brought from India. That's very interesting. And again, when we say these things, when I say something like this written about Apollonius, it's not like he just randomly said this. You could read his entire work on why he would say such a thing. And there's 100 more like him.
It's always been a huge thing for me in my mind, just in the shadows of my mind. Just why is it so familiar? The Osiris with, holding the actually Isis holding the baby Horus. That image, that idol, and it's a statue they found thousands of those statues. It's just so similar to the mother, the Holy Mary holding Jesus. And
that's the Virgin. That's Virgo.
Right.
It's Virgo. That's why we have Christmas. That's the winter solstice.
But
See,
there's so many similarities
Tim, there's
between.
been an argument for centuries on when the beginning of the year is, and that goes back to the interpretations of the Old Testament, the original story of creation when God created. When was everything created? When was man created? Was he created the first day of spring, and then birthed 9 months later, which would be winter, right? Which would be Christmas, or was he born Christmas 9 months later? Being autumn. This was a big argument for a long time, and that's why when I said the Byzantines, their October 1st. For us, it would have been October 1st, 1492 was their New Year's Day for the year 7000, because at that time, right around October 1st, that would have been the fall equinox. See, to them, that was the beginning of the year. To us now, we do the winter equinox, although we do January 1st, but really it's based upon the winter cycle. So this was an argument going back a very, very long time. And with the creation, it said that, what phase are we in? See, now, bear with me, Tim. Man, I really wish I had a way to show pictures. Well, we'll come back to this one if you don't mind, Tim. I hope to. I'm sorry to hold out on everyone, but I don't want to confuse anyone. But there's something I want to bring into this a little later on that will tie into this perfectly. But Tim, with Origen, he had a lot to say, and there's a few skeptical things that we also kicked around. There's one thing how, like, when history has been changed and rewritten, the church has a incredible history through the medieval and Renaissance periods of bastardizing people, whether it be all of the top artists from Florence. If you go look, they were all bastards.
They were homosexuals.
They were all homosexual and bastards, right. Absolutely. Right. As well as, if you look back historically, the Roman stories, the church stories go that all of the Caesars that have ruled, Augustus and Nero and Caligula, that they were all tyrants, and they were. I mean, maybe some of them were, but they were the worst ones. They were the ones. They were the homosexuals. They were the ones who did all the terrible things. But there's always another side to the story. When
I was in Italy, and our tour guide was discussing Michelangelo, the tour guide really went on a rant about how much of a grumpy, he was like a fisticuffing monster of a person. Like, he had no personality, basically, and he would get into arguments and fistfights with people, and that he was ugly, and and that he was very very much self-deprecating, and
you mean the guy who designed
built Michelangelo.
The Medici Library?
It's just so difficult to believe that,
The guy who carved David?
Right. I remember thinking, like, how, why are you, I mean, if that's so true, which, hey, who am I to say it's not true?
So you're telling me about the same guy that when Florence was under attack and everyone fled Florence, including the Medici, when homeboy Michelangelo stayed there and stood ground and fought until the war was over years later. This is the guy? Not a chance. No.
It's hard to believe, but, that so be it. And the truth is, it's weird because usually, like, let's take Albert
Guy who carved David?
Well, hear me out.
Where's this tour guide? Let's go talk to this guy.
The point is that, you go to a country and usually they have their golden boy. Like,
yeah,
for Germany, it's
the great embellishments. Yeah.
They love Albert Dürer, and they're proud of him, and they
do. But you know what?
These grandiose things of him.
I'm learning they really are more passionate about Hasselhoff, dude. I'm convinced. But I understand with you. I'm there. I'm right there, bro.
So it's odd when you go to Italy, and I was in Florence, and actually we were at the Academy uh, of Florence, whatever, where David was, and
That's
that's what they were
Ficino.
saying.
That's Ficino's school.
It was very nice.
Yeah,
It was a
I'm
beautiful
super
building.
jealous.
You should be.
Yeah, I feel like I'm a distant student. Yeah.
One of these days, man.
Yeah, I have a long list, but that's up there. It's up there. I would I would greatly appreciate that. Yeah. One
Well,
of these days.
back to Origin. He, as I said earlier, he was deemed a heretic for multiple reasons, all of which deal with church dogma.
Well, and a whole buttload of his words were changed after his death. A lot of people changed his words
Well,
immediately after.
well, then you can correct me.
No, 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 no. I'm
Oh, oh,
not
no,
going to
no,
try
it's
to
all
do
right.
that at all, buddy.
Well, this is what I picked up is that in one of his works, specifically, and I'm going to butcher this word, but De Principiis. I don't know.
Yeah,
Principles. I'm
De
assuming.
Principis, De Principalis.
He basically
It's the
says that
principles, the
that the
laws and principles.
souls, that man's souls, were more or less imprisoned in the material body, and it was punishment for sins that had been committed. And
Absolutely,
these
absolutely.
souls,
He was saying that physically, our ethereal soul has been cast down. It's way down. It's been depressed and trapped in this beast of a body. And through having divine thoughts of pure truth and trying to think in such a way with logos and Christos to be able to return mentally. I'm paraphrasing, Tim. I don't want to go through all the steps, but yeah, to be able to mentally return to God spiritually on an ethereal level, and return. And this I just put something on my Facebook page, a painting of Botticelli about Pallas raising a man out of a beast. It's a painting of Pallas, and a centaur, half man, half beast, and it's Botticelli's painting symbolizing the Pallas being the Minerva, just the divine intelligence, pure goodness, pure love thought, returning, the goodness thought, and becoming a man from a beast body. Like we are a
right.
beast, and so long as we go around seeking out human desires, you will always be a beast. You need to return to your proper thinking. You were given a mind for use, and instead you seek body pleasure, when that will only bring you depression, because seeking out earthly things, seeking out things that bring you body pleasure, are only temporary pleasures. None of them will please you infinitely or eternally in any degree. It's just a temporary thing. And as they say, and the Hermetics say, all of these temporary fixations that we seek, that these are our desires, these are what we work for, these are the things I want. The stronger that desire, once you achieve that goal, you get that thing that you want. The quicker and more rapid and more strong the depression. Everything rises and falls. Everything's in and out, up and down, and you want this thing, you want it real bad. All your love's in it. You think it's your love. You're passionate for it. You do everything for it. You work real hard. You get it, but just as quick, depression about it. Your appreciation for it diminishes rapidly, and unfortunately, that's with everything. There's nothing you could find that's for human pleasure that will please you eternally. It will, for every happiness, there's another side of the pole.
and with the the same belief that, well, the same idea that he was writing about stems from that is past lives, the belief of some form of reincarnation of the soul, and
Right. If you don't complete the process, you got to do it again.
that is very much not a Catholic idea.
No, but this is the same thing. This was the whole premise of even Dante's Inferno, of all the levels you have to go through. It's the same idea. However you want it to be told, through allegory or through illuminations or drawings. But it was the whole idea that until you can return, until you can be of pureness, of pure goodness, that's when you can return, and you don't have to be trapped in this hell. This comes through many different places, but even this goes back. We know to Hermes and with the early Egyptians. This is where we see the early hieroglyphs, where you see them in their funeral processions or in their tombs, where they're weighing the deceased heart with a feather.
Sure.
Obviously we know the heart's going to outweigh the feather, but it's weighing the pureness of the heart.
Right.
The heart to them was the furnace of your soul in your human body, because they felt that all of your humors and vapors and your liquids, it all got processed through there. And they felt the heat and the different fluids, were influenced by different outer body influences.
And what you said earlier about these ideas, these Catholic ideas originating in India, that one right there, that idea specifically comes from
Well, it's not
Eastern
just it's not just
religions.
it's not just that. It's Aristotle writes that Socrates and Plato got a lot of their teachings from India as well.
Right.
So
true.
I mean, this is not new. This is
It's written that they both visited these areas. You're right.
absolutely. No doubt about it at all.
There's documentation of it,
Right. I mean,
one way or another.
there's so many similarities with Krishna. I mean, they all have celestial beginnings. And when I say celestial, I'm not talking about aliens on a foreign planet. I'm straight up talking about the planets that revolve around the sun, the same ones that are here today. Same ones. Just different representations.
My grandmother used to say that I was an old soul, and she was very, very religious and Catholic. And it's just amazing how these ideas just kind of get intertwined, regardless of your, your dedication to the actual doctrines of your religion. You still, it's a human idea, and it's understood and it's believed.
Well, I certainly believe that, Tim. And I'm also absolutely certain that I don't need to be convinced. I absolutely know there's a world soul or universal soul. Whoever we want to pick from history, who says it. Aristotle calls it the world soul, which in Latin it's de anima. It's the animal soul. It's the world soul. It's a universal spirit
to consciousness.
I mean, we absolutely have to. We absolutely must with duality. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I'm aware of it. I wish I could. I wish I had a better way of explaining these things. I don't. I'm not a teacher, but.
What the point
I wish
is,
I had art sometimes. I wish I could, instead of just talking, I wish I could show some art and geometry to go with it, because they're equal parts of it. They're all relative. When I tell someone you have to learn math, I hate math. I'm not good at math. And I say, listen, it has nothing to do. You don't have to add anything. You don't have to subtract it, but you're going to have to just pay attention to a few things here. They're all together. And once they all go together, once you get all the pieces, all the tools working together, you literally see things differently. You just see everything completely differently in a better way. And
but that's something you do, and you almost contradicted yourself there, Joe, for the first time I'd have to say in a long time I've heard you. I've spoken to you about, because you're a contractor by trade, right?
Hmm.
And what do you say you always put in every piece of work that you build? You put in an arch.
What was that? Can you repeat that?
You put an arch in
Absolutely,
every
yeah.
piece of work.
I'm the arch master.
So there you go.
Yeah.
That's your way.
Hmm.
One way or another.
You think there's an arch in my house right now?
Maybe
Yes.
not yet, but there will be.
No, there is. There is. Absolutely, there is.
What, did you take a wall down when you moved in and just?
No, no. I just made sure there was one here in the design. Yeah.
Chainsaw, sawzall.
No, absolutely not. No, I would never do such a thing. I would never. Yeah, I got an arch. I'm a big fan of the arches. Only because for straight geometry, bro, straight math. An arch is the definition of an arch is a section of a circle. That's all it is. But it's one of the 5 divine shapes, or I prefer to say one of the 5 platonic solids. And the circle is very, very important. It's it has many different symbolizations and usages, but it's huge. It's huge. Tim, if I this might be a little off track for a second, but speaking about this, I was having a discussion with someone who's he's a very intellectual guy, and we were talking about the early globes. Did you and I did we speak about the?
Yes.
Okay. We were talking about just that, and we were talking about several other early maps prior to Piri Reis, and I was talking about this one map that you and I are both familiar with, and the beautiful world map that has just one half of the world that I sent you to PDF a while back.
Mm-hmm.
The beautiful illuminations on it, and we were going over this map, and I love using this map, and I wanted to use it as an example for him. And what I was trying to show was there's a red line on the map, and I was trying to explain that this was a depiction for them of the wave pattern, or and he said, this is what they were using, and he's dead right, for representations of Hermes' staff for the sun, like the staff with the wings, the caduceus with the snakes. And basically, if I took a world globe, right, a globe, and I were to draw an equator on it, and if I were to draw from North Pole to South Pole, 360 sections. Well, 365. 360 because it's round, but it's really not round. It's kind of squished. So there's 365 days. And if for each one of those days, I were to mark, and I have the equator. So every day I turn the globe just one notch, right? One of the 365. And along that equator, each time I turn that globe, I mark where that sun is every day. And, every day, let's say it'll move closer to maybe the Tropic of Cancer, or maybe it's heading back down towards the equator, or maybe down, below. And if you were to mark this in revolution with the Earth, in continuous revolution, this is what you would have. You would have the caduceus. You would have the wave pattern continuously with the equator, just going back.
You're referring to the curve of the snakes?
Oh, absolutely. This is so old, man. This is such old business. And this is the reason why it's even used in doctors and pharmacies today, is because of its planetary influences. This is what the doctors used then to prepare medicines and to read all influences. And, Tim, they even felt that, and they had good reason to believe that meteors and planetary alignments would bring plagues or illnesses. Just even more recent, I found a fascinating description. I think we even talked about it with Amerigo Vespucci wrote on his third letter from his third journey that he was talking about the climate where he was. And he was talking about how nice and moderate it was, that it was never too hot, never too cold, but he was in the southern hemisphere. And he was describing how the seasons, it was very temperate. It was a great place to live year round, but he was specific to talk about how it had a southerly breeze. And he said, but not to fear, because where he's from, he says, that's bad news. But where I am here in the South, it's the opposite. He's in the southern hemisphere. He said, so to you back home, it would be similar to a north breeze. And then he goes on to say, because the breeze that comes from the equator, right, from the region where the sun meets the earth the most, he said, that's where we get all of our diseases from. And he went into a few descriptions of early illnesses, but still today, this is where Ebola is all in this region, malaria, and so many other illnesses all fall in this region.
Pretty incredible that he could pick up on that 500 years ago.
I agree.
Because they were still, at that point, they were still very superstitious in believing that sicknesses were a cause of sin and demons infesting our bodies.
Again, who wrote that?
Right.
Let's be serious. I don't know either, but that sounds like something I would say, who wrote that and where's the origin of that reference? Because I don't see that. I don't see it. If I'm reading before 1500, I know there was a lot changed at 1500 by the church or the Roman history, but if I go into anything that was written in Greek, right, and just because it's written in Greek doesn't mean it's from BC. The Greek Empire fell in 1453 when Byzantium fell, Constantinople, but anything in there, it's crazy. It's a whole other story, It's you get one story of all the apostles, right, that we have today. And it's crazy. You go to Greek prior, it's wild. It's there's different stories that go on. That's all I really have to say.
It makes you wonder if this whole dumbing down of society and trying to turn the cheek has been that far stretched. What are the lengths that have been taken? To what depths has the powers that be gone?
Right. Well, it's not just Origen, but he also had pretty much in history like a partner in crime, Eusebius, and Eusebius, he says he's pretty much found all of the works of John the Evangelist from the pagans. It's endless. They were borrowing from here and there, and then we have another guy. As you know who he is, Joe Atwill, and he's researched and written and speaks a good deal on the Flavian influence upon it, which is real. He's absolutely right. They did have a big influence in it, but there was a lot more to it. It's they weren't the only hands in the cookie jar. They did kind of prioritize it. They were the first ones to say, hey, now that we're arranging this and things are working out here, how can we incorporate our family into this story? We want our family to be of this divine lineage. They wanted, that old story of whoever the lineages may be, whether it's Jesus back to Adam or it's Alexander back to Zeus. They wanted to be the same. They wanted to make a hereditary lineage through the Caesars that would last. And hey, they weren't the first, really. They were the first ones to really change the book and push it hard. But Christ, look at the year 800 with Charlemagne. They really changed the book, installed an emperor, and demanded that that's the way it was going to be. But when they installed Charlemagne, That was it. That's when officially the church, that's when the Roman Empire officially had an east and a west. Because up until the year 800 with Charlemagne, the Roman emperor was in Constantinople. The church was in Rome, but Constantinople was, but they're a bunch of freaking idiots over there. They're willing to kill anyone. Oh, you want to be a Christian over there? Let's think about what they used to do to Christians there. Okay, relax, everyone. The story's been changed a little bit, and again, I'll say it, and I'm not ashamed to. And I was raised Roman Catholic, and I'm not ashamed to say this. I'm quite certain that there will never be any proof that Jesus Christ lived while I'm alive. Never. And I feel certain of 500,000 years after me, still the case. Never happened. It's never happened. Not a chance.
I don't know. I don't put too much thought into that personally. I just don't.
Well, of course I put thought into it.
I said I.
But I mean, I do. Of course I do. I mean, this is a major deal if you live in the Western Hemisphere. This is a big deal. The church and its fingers in the history changing has influenced everyone's life here in America, whether it's acknowledged or not. And all I'm saying is it's time to just pull back the curtain, and we're going to peel them back, because we're going to have to take a break, but we're going to unleash the beast when we come back. And welcome back to Researchers Radio. I'm Tim C. No. This
Nice.
is Joe K. That's Tim C over there. What's going on, dude?
Not
How've you
too
been?
much. You're doing well, man. Doing
Cool.
well. Enjoying my break.
Right on. That break went rather quick for me.
Yeah, me too.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Hey, Tim, I think I should announce that this program, Researchers Radio Live, with Joe K. and Tim C., we will be moving. A physical move. It's a light packing, though, not much packing. But we're moving. We're moving on up to the east side, and with Wheezy, Jefferson. We are moving from Sunday nights 10 p.m. in Studio B to Thursday nights 8 p.m. Studio A. So that's a little different. We're switching studios and switching nights and times. So it's a big deal. But our first program, Studio A, Thursday nights, will be February 19th at 8 p.m. So this is the first we're saying it, but we will continue saying it and continue advertising it as best as we do here at freedomslips.com.
I'm excited because my Monday mornings will get a little bit more cheerier.
Your Monday mornings?
Yes.
They should be always cheery, Tim.
I won't be so exhausted the next morning, you know.
Is it exhaustion just because the dreary Monday blues?
No, because I usually drink about 4 cups of coffee from anytime around 3 to 4 o'clock on Sunday afternoon before the show. And then I usually stay up way too late. I try really hard to just crash out, but it's impossible.
Right. I'm sorry to hear that, Tim. Well, this may benefit you then.
Big time.
Big time. But Tim and I, we're planning some exciting things. We're going to have some good guests. We're going to have some bang-up episodes, and the goal is to completely overwhelm you. We're not here to underwhelm you. I'm not an underwhelmer, Tim. No. I don't appreciate that at all. So, Tim, we were talking about people changing some words around in this silly old book, the book of the Lord, the divine word, which I thought you weren't allowed to change. But so,
well, you know what? To be honest, I think my interpretation is that Origen wrote several books regarding his interpretations of Scripture and
Absolutely.
Gospel, and what happened is it was written in, I think, three different languages: Greek, Latin, and help me out, Joe. I don't know what the third one. It might have been. It might have been Hebrew. No.
He wrote. I think he wrote it in 8 languages.
Oh, really?
So I could be. I might be wrong, but he knew quite a few languages. Yeah.
So anyway, so those interpretations were more or less translated, and there are some similarities and some differences between each translation. And so whoever did the work, there were several translators that did. Maybe they fell on one side and they were a supporter of Origen, or they fell on the other side and they agreed with the Catholic Church of his heresy. And during these translations, they may or may not have altered the content to their liking, which, again, happens in history, and it's very unfortunate. But
well, I mean, history also says if you look in certain places, and we've even discussed this, certain historians after his time that wrote for the church also wrote that Origen became a eunuch by self-infliction. What's the deal with that?
Yeah,
that is the rudest thing to put on to someone.
Castration is probably the most brutal thing anyone could ever do to themselves as a male. And just the thought of it makes any male cringe. I just cringed, and I already knew about it, and I'm still cringing.
I just don't even understand. I would say, like, there's a chance I'm doing this to cause myself a slow, disgusting death from infection. I don't see the purpose of it in any time period.
The history books, what they say is that he basically led a life of asceticism. And including that was the castration. And apparently he did that in an effort to be able to teach women without having any distractions. It's kind of an extreme view, I feel. That's just my opinion.
Well, it is an extreme view. I want to, before earlier, I was talking about a book that you and I knew. I received a message, Tim, I'm sorry. A book that you and I knew on before the Pee Wee Reese map, with a wonderful, beautiful map, and it's the title of that book is called De Sphera. It's just another example that the book was that people well knew the world was round before Columbus. There's a few versions of it too.
And there's works of art that are dedicated.
I believe the one that you and I are familiar with, Tim. I believe the author of that map book was Flore, Flore, if I'm not mistaken. It was from like the 1460s. And if anyone's interested in that, just get a message to me. And I'm on Facebook, Joe Kiernan. I'm on YouTube, Joe Kiernan. YouTube is free. Never any ads. Tons of very rare books. Esoteric teachings, magic teachings, and I try to go to the original sources on as many things as possible. So that's what we got going on.
Yeah, Joe's got some good works that are on audiobook, and a lot of people. I mean, I've listened to them. A lot of
books you just can't find. A lot of them
some of them are rare, and it's good to just put on and do whatever you're doing and just have it going on in the background. There's a lot of times we have a very
nice message just today. That's one of the reasons. This is the whole reason why I started doing it was I would love to read certain books 10 times, but I don't have the time. But I do have the time if I'm working instead of having music on. I might want to play that, or if I'm driving, play a couple chapters of something. I really enjoy doing that. And so then I started doing that for myself with certain books where, I mean, the books I was interested in are not available on audiobook. And, as we just said, several of them are not in English or not in print, So when I get the opportunity, I like putting them into a film format And just today, I got a really nice message from someone who said they really enjoyed listening to a particular video when they were painting, and it helped them get into a proper mood that they found fit for finding that creative vibe. And excuse me. And I found it very rewarding. It was very nice. That's what it's all about.
Well, going back to origin, we really only discussed one of the reasons. I mean, there's probably the main reason, but one of the reasons why he was basically made a heretic. Joe, you still with me?
Tim, I would never leave you.
My mic was acting up, I think. Well, anyway, so basically, we discussed why basically the pre-existence of souls and the imprisonment of the soul in the material body as punishment for a prior sin. One of the other major reasons that he was deemed a heretic was that he also claimed that the soul of Christ also previously existed and then was united to the divine nature sometime before the incarnation of the Son of God, really.
Well, I mean, that's what Jesus was, right? He was the return of Christ in the human form. Mm-hmm. That's what Jesus was supposed to be.
So I'm guessing that the problem they had with this was that the soul was because I mean, the way I understood the Trinity, I mean, that basically is a big problem, obviously, if for the church, if there's a Catholic historian putting in print that what your view, the church's view of the Trinity, is wrong.
Well, the church still says it right. We just interpret it differently.
Right.
And they say the Trinity is the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. It's still the same. It's still the Father is God, the Creator, the Grand Designer, the Son being the sun in the sky, and the soul, the world soul, the universal mind, whatever we want to call it. But it's still, or the Holy Ghost, whatever you want to call it. But it's still the Father, Son, the Holy Ghost. But we're thinking of a God, Jesus, and something else. If you ask a priest about, hey, can you please explain the Holy Ghost to me? It's Son, you just have faith. I can't do that. Whereas in antiquity, all of the early philosophers would be more than happy to explain it to you and give you plenty of examples to understand it. That was the whole purpose of it. Is not to tell you the answer, but to give you the tools. Like, well, okay, I'm a contractor. If I had you, Tim, and you were here with me and we spent a little time, I wouldn't say, okay, Tim, build this house. And you say, hey, I don't know how to do it. Can you tell me how? Am I supposed to say, no, do it yourself? You have to find out for yourself. Well, that would be a waste. Secondly, I can show you, but you would say, hey, Joe, I know how. You showed me. But, hey, I got no freaking tools, man. Mm-hmm. I'm supposed to provide you with the tools. I can't say, no, Tim, build the house. And, oh, you need a saw? You need a hammer? You know what? You're going to have to figure out how to make those too. You'd say, this is going to take forever. I got to learn how to make a saw and make one right. Make a hammer. I can make nails. No, I'll provide you with the tools and the know-how. But you need to be the one to figure it out. Like Plato, I love to refer. He said, you can't just give someone the answer to a question because you'll forever take away the opportunity for that person to learn it for themselves. And he doesn't mean don't give the person an answer, hey, too bad for you, figure it out for yourself. It's don't just, hey, what's 12 plus 12? Don't just say 24. Let me explain to you what that question is. And then maybe once you see it a certain way, that you won't even have to calculate that. It'll just come to you. You'll envision the numbers, or they'll just come to you instantly. It's tough to describe to someone once you know your times tables, how you don't necessarily have to write 8 times 8 anymore. You just know it. It's kind of the same thing. And it's all relative through examples. And sometimes examples really are the best way to understand something. Sometimes a verbal answer is not the best way to suit a question.
And back then, it's very a lot of people don't remember or don't understand that books, anything in writing, really was of value. It was of great value. Books were expensive, and not everybody could read them, even if they could afford it. So a lot of these traditions, a lot of the scripture, the gospel, it was basically memorized by by people like Origen and other academics and priests, and so they had to basically oralize this to the masses, and that's another way that there could be some kind of miscalculation or confusion as to what his ideals really were, because you're taking the say of one other person against another's. You play the phone game enough times. Who knows what the Catholic Church was hearing that he was preaching, because he was a preacher. He did travel and give speeches on these topics and on gospel and scripture.
Mm-hmm. Well, there was a few other people like him, and even prior, Apollonius was one of the same. Zoroaster was another one. But we have Saturninus. He was way back then. And he's an interesting one. And I don't even know if I should read this one, Tim, but I have this thing here that's written in the first person, if you can follow me.
Go for it.
I'll just paraphrase a little bit. And there's this dude, Saturninus, lived a long time ago. He was the Essenian philosopher, a pupil of Ignatius of Antioch, and a master of Basilides, one of the founders of Gnosticism. Now, this is going to be, I'm going to paraphrase, I'm going to jump around a little bit here, but this is going to be written in the first person on his behalf. At the time I lived and taught, the Essenes were Christians, and the only Christians that existed at Antioch. I met and conversed and exchanged philosophies with Apollonius of Tyana and Damius, his disciple. All that you will find that is set down as the teachings of Jesus of Nazareth were taught by me. They were obtained from Apollonius, who gave them to me in exchange for what I knew of the gymnosophists. It was the revised statues or mixture of Brahmism and Buddhism as established at the Great Council of Osaka in India. It took place before my time, 250 years. All my writings were not original, but simply a review of doctrines of my friend in spirit, Stilpo, and of what might be determined as Platonism mixed with Brahmism and Buddhism, which in reality are the foundations of Gnosticism and all religions. Pretty interesting.
Yeah, I could see a lot of people getting very pissed about that.
You get pissed off all you want. If all these stories existed long before the story of Jesus, let's have at it. Go ahead. Find your oldest document.
All I'm
let's go
saying
for
is
it.
I know a ton of people that would be
You want to know what's absolutely hilarious? The oldest document we have referring to apostles, okay, from the Dead Sea Scrolls, the oldest ones we have. There's only one name that we can make out fully, incomplete, and it's the name Pythagoras. What? How did that happen? I would love to have a priest answer for that. Whose name was mistranslated as Pythagoras? Was it John? Was it Paul?
They're not even close.
Maybe it was Luke. Must have been. Every time, Luke, you and your scriptures. Hey, listen. All I'm saying is It's not to be, the good book is not to be taken literal in the sense of what's translated by you today. Like you having, man has dominion over all animals. Why is it that low IQ people take that as I can kill whatever I want? High IQ people take that as an understanding of consciousness. How is there such a variation? And why is it that the low IQ people are the ones that actually have the guns to do the killing? Which is cool. I mean, everyone's got guns of all age, you know. It doesn't matter for the killing part. But the dominion over all other animals, I'm sorry people take it that way. But I'm pretty sure I'm not going to find any commentary or interpretation of the scriptures prior ever that says that that's really the case, that hey, it's okay, you really do control every animal and you can do whatever you want. It's not the case.
You know what the thing is with me, Joe, is that, I mean, all right, I'll put it to you this way. After all of the research I've done and all the reading I've done and everything I've learned, even on the show, you know, we've really learned a lot about these people who you know, their ideas and whatnot were just downtrodden by the powers that be for whatever purpose. It still to this day, because I was born and raised a Roman Catholic, when I hear something like this, I get this feeling inside like, ooh, I wish that wasn't. I hope that's not true. I just hope that can be downplayed because I don't want to believe it. It's like an instinctual thing.
Why would you not want to believe something?
No, it's not a matter of that. What I'm trying to say is I believe it's more or less. I'm more or less brainwashed as a child, you know, like
no doubt.
It's bred into you, you know what I mean?
Oh, no doubt at all. I mean, and I hate doing it, but it's such an easy comparison for me, and forgive me. Christopher Columbus story. It's a freaking fictional book, man. The story of Columbus, the whole story that we're taught, that the world was known as being flat, that is taught to my kids today. It's absolutely ridiculous. That book is fiction. It's not a true history book. It was never meant to be. I don't know why they teach it to people. You know, it wasn't a history book. It was a story book. I don't know how it was taught, and I don't know why it's still taught today. It's absolutely ridiculous. It really pisses me off because, again, nobody at that time thought the world was flat. That is ridiculous. They knew otherwise. I mean, they're arguing about the dimensions of the earth for maps, for territories, for celestial reasons, and then boom, right here again, for calendar reasons. This is the whole purpose. The book of Horus is nothing different than the book of Hours. If you go to Windsor Castle, the British royal family, and you go to their library and you say, what is your most prized possession out of all of these books? And they would brush aside their old Bibles. They would push aside the Gutenberg Bible that was printed by Gutenberg, first edition, push that aside and show you their 11th century book of Hours, or book of Horus, if you will, whatever you want to call it. That's the prized possession. That's the book of Hours. Take that. That's why you have time. That's the sun in the sky. It's traveling. It's the book of Hours. It's time. It's creation. It's old. It's very old. And you can find a lot of Jesus in there too. You
know, Patrick English and Olive 2M have been chatting in the chat room.
Two fantastic minds, I should add.
And they were asking, well, Patrick was commenting on, I guess, what I was saying about, the what's drilled into us, what's bred into us about religion and belief. And he said, we, if I may say, need to be free of belief. And I thought that was
mental slavery.
Yeah, well put.
Well put, Patrick. And thank you, as always.
And he goes on. He says most of the Bible is allegory and with real meaning.
And should be. You see, I appreciate allegory. I really do. Allegories are fantastic. So, you know what else? So are fables, like Aesop's fables. Okay. Excellent lesson learners for children. Excellent. They might not get the subliminal messages, the purposes of them, but they get a lot more out of it than you think. They might not intentionally, no matter the age, they might not intentionally get the message that you're trying to get through to them. But Aesop's fables are designed for you to gather so much insight into understanding a situation. Again, that you'll learn it yourself. The fable is an easy way for you to understand it instead of just telling you the answer to a question and then you don't care. Like even today, how many times has someone asked you a question, Tim? And it's happened, I'm sure, where you say, hey, dude, every week you ask me that same question and I'm going to answer it again, but this time will you remember it so you don't have to ask me again? Well, is that person asking because they really want to learn? No, they're asking because they don't care and they just need to know that answer for something. So if you ask me a question and I just give you the answer, are you really going to learn anything? Well, if you physically tell yourself, okay, like I have to remember that, maybe you'll learn it. But if you ask a question and through a series of examples, allegories, fables, whatever it may be, boom, you got it yourself. I didn't even have to say anything. You got it. You understand it. Don't ever ask me that question again. Stop asking me that freaking question, dude.
And, Olive 2M also asked, she wanted to know if any of us have read the Nag Hammadi text. I have not.
No, I have not.
It is on my radar, but
no. The only text that I would have in relation to that is the Bhagavad Gita. That's the only one I have been through. I'm getting there. I just have a few more I have to get through before I get there. But in due time, I promise. I'm just a little overwhelmed. I'm backed up on my books right now, Tim. I'm backed up. Mm-hmm. There's, I got at least, maybe like 15 books that I'm just dying to get to, but I can't. It's killing me. I wish I had more time.
Yeah, I agree. Work has really picked up for me, and my spare time is limited as it is. But
yeah, I wish I had more time. Mm-hmm. I will later in life, I hope. Maybe not. Who knows what this life has in store for me, Tim? Might be short.
Let's hope not, Joe.
Well, it is what it is. It is what it is, man. I just hope when my time's up, my heart's as light as that feather.
Truth is, man, I've got so much that I need to do that it would be a real shame if I kick the bucket anytime soon.
But I'm gonna guess the things that you're gonna say that you have to do are only meaningful to your mortal body, to yourself.
Actually, most of the things I really want to do, the truth is, I practice transcendental meditation.
Absolutely.
And most of the things that I want to do have to do with that. And
oh, that's cool.
And so they really don't have anything to do with my material body.
Tim, that's fantastic. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, I've found that I've gotten kind of bored with the usual things that.
Hey, if you don't mind me asking, have you been allocating any more time to it? Have you dedicated yourself to expanding the amount of time of your sessions?
No, you know what the truth is. I'm taught to only do it 2 times a day, 20 minutes. So you don't have some kind of overload, I would imagine, because we do have to pay the bills. I got to live in this world and abide by the rules of this world in order to be able to live a normal existence here in the United States of America. But the truth is,
you're in America.
It would be great to be able to just take like a hiatus and really concentrate on that, but I can't. I own my own business. I'm busy, You know, that's life. But as you said, you know, maybe later in life I'll have more time to dedicate towards that. That would be great.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe I will later in life. But I find the time. I do find the time, Tim. You know, I might not read a lot of books right now in completion, but I I'm reading a book every day still. You know, it's just maybe 15 minutes here, 20 minutes there, and sometimes I'm reading the same thing over and over. You know, because a lot of these books that I'll read, you know, it's not that they're story books. You know, like sometimes I want to read a particular thing a few times to really drive it home. You know. And with these books, that's kind of what I have to do because they're so well written, you know? It's like, my God, the way they used to format books and put them all together, it's just astounding. You know, like, I was thinking out loud the other day about Ficino's books, just his books alone on his commentaries on Plato. I mean, there's 5 volumes of those books, and they're massive. You know, like they're incredible. Just one of those volumes of books, I would consider a great achievement for myself in life. You know, I would say how proud I am for this opus I've assembled, and the truth of the matter is, there's really 8 volumes, but we only have like 4.5 today. A few of them are gone. We've lost them.
Well, there's quite a few questions here in chat, and I'd like to, and if we don't get to answer some of them, I do apologize. But there was a question here. Let's see here. There's an app apparently for the Pistis Sophia. Joe, you with me here?
Of course I am.
Yeah, I blanked out for a second there.
No, I'm listening. Yeah.
Let's see. No, I went too far back up. Oh yeah, okay. So Matrix Glitch wants to know: have either of you ever read Simulation and Simulacra? And I think that's yep, Simulacra and Simulation. No, I haven't read that.
I have not.
Nope. I've read of it, but definitely never heard. And
I have never read any of it at all. Like not even an introduction or anything.
Mm-hmm. And then Patrick English was referring to the Voynich manuscript.
The Voynich manuscript?
Right.
You know what? I'm going to say hello, Patrick English. And I'm going to say, I think I've said it before on the show. I don't know what it is.
I don't think it's been translated yet.
No, it's not translated. And I do my best to avoid looking at them. Because when I get into them, I have this tendency that I'll lock myself in. And you know me, Tim. If it's a Albrecht Dürer print and there's a code in there that has to be found, like you might not hear from me till that thing is broken, you know? I can't help myself, and I'm trying my best to stay clear of those things for a number of years. But I'm telling you, I can't avoid them. People keep mentioning them to me. And I'm going to say, and I'm going to say this without research, Tim. I'm just going to say, I have a feeling one day I'm going to spend a lot of time on those. And I'm also going to say that I'm expecting to also possibly require the use of the Alberti cipher disk from Leon Alberti. Look for people at home. He was in like the 1460s. He created one of the first. You know, we use cipher wheels, Tim. You know,
right?
Cipher disk. He's pretty much created the first one of them. You know, that was unbreakable. It was a solid one at that time. I'm going to think it's got a little bit to do with it because of the original legend of it, who had it, that it had been through Medici hands. If that is in a language, and it's a mixture of symbolizations images and language that we don't know of. I'm going to just guess that might have something to do with it, because although that Alberti cipher is known well today, it was not known at that time. Thus, the whole purpose of needing the cipher. I think they're very related, because even Giordano Bruno was working off of Alberti's cipher, and this was if for people at home, if you want to look, if you were to look at an image of the Alberti cipher disc, he even had two of them that would go side by side. They would pretty much make a figure eight, Tim, when they're side by side.
Sure.
But Giordano Bruno did the same thing, using the wheels within a wheels, just as described by Plato. But that was for Atlantis, right? The physical Atlantis, as if we're looking for a lost continent somewhere. But it was the wheels within the wheels to be able to return home. Alberti's cipher was it. Giordano Bruno used the same wheel of wheels within wheels, the same thing for his magic, to be able to, we talked about, climbing through the levels to return to the creator. Bruno's magic wheel was based on the same thing as Alberti's disc, and it was the same thing to achieve each level, to climb the hierarchy and gain your wings, and upon your mental creations and vibrations, as Plato said, you can quote, I can thus grow these proverbial wings and fly whereabouts I choose and return to my creator. They're not necessarily physical wings you're going to grow by thought, but if you could understand enough to be on that vibratory level and plane of correspondence, well, it's a good start. It's a good start for your wings. I'd like to grow wings one day, Tim. Like Pegasus.
Like a unicorn Pegasus?
Oh, yes. Yeah. I was taught very early in life. One of the first Greek lessons I was given, Tim, in Greek mythology was never play leapfrog with a unicorn. That's what I was taught. I learned the hard way.
Well, I've been trying to read all this in chat and keep up with this. There was a couple questions about the Voynich.
Trying not to lose my voice. I did a lot of yelling today when I was golfing. It was full contact golf today.
Well, Patrick English had mentioned about the Voynich manuscript that some do believe that it's a joke. And I've seen that in one or two shows, and I've read something similar to that, and that someone could have put it together for whatever purpose, just to throw people off, which is very very possible.
Absolutely.
But it just seems like a whole lot of work for no reason.
It's a lot of work.
No real reason, because it is intricately done, and it's
done on animal skins.
Mm-hmm.
And it was well done. It was meant to be kept well hidden. It was not meant to be broken. That was the whole purpose of it. I don't know enough of it though, Tim, in the sense on what studies have been done. Who's really trying to break that?
I know that code breakers have looked at it to try and break the code of the language, and that it's basically the conclusion is that it is a language, but it's unbreakable. They can't break it, but it is a language supposedly. And I guess they can find that out by the way it's I'm sure they use some kind of algorithm to figure it out, but truth is, it could just be gibberish. It could just be gibberish, and it could just be some insanely surreal images that appear to have some kind of purpose. And it could be a joke, but more likely, I would like to think it's not.
Well, like I said, I have a feeling one day I'm going to spend a little time on them. I've kind of been avoiding it, but it's amazing how often they're brought up. It really is. I'm just shocked at the amount of people who, in academia, who still bring them up. I really am shocked about it. Maybe it's time we do look into a little more. I might really want to look into the true history of them. But I thank you, Patrick and Olive, for the contributions in the chat room.
And
as
Matrix
always.
Glitch.
As always. But Eusebius was another guy right there. We mentioned him before with Origen, and quite a bit was changed under his pen, and this was a very active time from again with Joe Atwill with the Flavians right through Eusebius and Origen right to finally the granddaddy, the cherry on the top was Saint Jerome, who really messed things up. And I say messed things up because he messed things up. He caused a great deal of people to die. And the worst part about it is a lot of them were his own people,
Well, what's your take? I mean, because you've given me your take on Jerome, and I'd like you to just expand a bit for our listeners.
Yeah, Saint Jerome changed quite a bit. Specifically, there are 17 mentions of the name Jesus in the Bible, in the New Testament today, of Jesus doing something, a particular act, or a story of Jesus. 17 times. Though that story was taken from Joshua in the Old Testament. So just alone right there, he pissed off so many Hebrews and the Jews of the time, sparking out a major war. But just alone right there, you get the Hebrews saying, wait a second, you just took 17 things that our guy just did and gave them to your new guy here. And now we're not even able to acknowledge us, although we've been acknowledging and discussing this and revering these particular. I'm just speaking about just these 17 stories, these 17 things for 4,000 years, 3,800 years now at this point, and now it's hey, they're not yours anymore, deal with it, and that's one thing, although it was 17 changes. That's just one tiny thing. He changed a lot, virtually everything. He changed. There used to be the common book was the Septuagint. That was the most complete, although it was in Greek. All of the Hebrews at the time, all the Hebrew scholars, even at the time, accepted the Septuagint being in Greek, because it was the most complete language to understand it. They were fine with it. The Septuagint stood for 72 because through the Alexandrian reigns, Alexander had sent out people to all reaches of the tribes of Israel. And from the tribes of Israel, all 12 tribes, he took there's 6 top scholars from each tribe, giving us 72 people. And the story goes, he took these 72 scholars and gave them access to the libraries, full, anything you want, anything you want in regards of research, it's yours. And these 72 guys virtually came up with the same exact book. That was accepted by all 72 scholars at the time. And that was the Septuagint. And that book stood. When we say today, but we're looking for the oldest Hebrew writing, we want to find a Hebrew writing that's 2,000 years old on this stuff. At this time, in the time of Jerome or Eusebius or Origen, the Hebrew scholars would have said, we're not interested in that because it's not complete. It's not meant to be that way, although some are, but not the complete work, So what was very important was the Hebrew scholars at that time were very content with the way it was. We're told that it was changed because it was not in Hebrew. You know, that it was shameful almost that they had to have it in Greek. It was quite the contrary. They were fine with it. They were one of the ones who brought about the need. Hey, we need to have this book from all reaches of our empire, and that's what they did, man. They scoured the known world for the books, for the access of that project. So much wisdom was lost just from a few people, whatever it may be. You see, like someone with let's go back to Mr. Joseph Atwell. Well known. Again, his book is Caesar's Messiahs, and about the Josephus Flavius and his manipulation. Josephus Flavius, no doubt, he manipulated a lot of things. But now there's another character named Philo of Alexandria. Same time as Josephus Flavius. They know each other. They're friends. There's two people in the world that we have books from that write about knowing, firsthand accounts of actually knowing the apostles. We have Josephus. We also have Philo. They're the only two people from antiquity that we have today that write of knowing the apostles, knowing the disciples, knowing everyone relating to the Jesus story. However, with Philo was the scholar. Philo was the keeper of the Alexandrian library. Philo was well accepted by the Hebrew communities, by the pagan communities. He was well liked and acknowledged and appreciated for his contributions for the truth. And so we have Josephus changing stories, incorporating this newly formed Christianity into controlling the masses, into slavery, but without telling them they're slaves. You know, very similar to today. Don't tell them they're slaves. Don't make them pay their taxes. Just take their taxes. Just take it. Same sort of thing. But Josephus changed things, no doubt. Philo did not change things. Which person do you think they killed? Philo.
The mover and the shaker.
One changed the story. He lived, surprisingly. The guy who wouldn't change the story, he died. He died. Some say crucified after having to go to Rome and see the emperor. Very interesting. Now, there's another interesting story about Philo. Not only, actually, Philo wrote some amazing books. One of my favorite books is called On the Giants that he wrote. That's on my YouTube channel also.
Oh, right, yeah.
Fantastic book. He also wrote a complete commentary on the whole entire Bible, on Moses, on the creation, on Genesis, on everything. And it's slightly different than what you might hear today, probably because he wrote it in about, the year 30. And when you read certain things that have been changed so much since then, and if you say, no, this Bible today is the right one, Philo was wrong, how can that be? How is it possible? It's not. But now we take someone like Philo. Again, let's talk. We mentioned he's one of the only two people. Let's just say the only one, because the other one we know is a liar. The other one we know is a liar, a manipulator, and terrible, terrible stuff. Philo, he knew the disciples. He knew all the apostles. And what's interesting is he's the only one that we have from history that writes of Pontius Pilate. So anyone that we hear of Pontius Pilate who writes on Pontius Pilate, you heard it from Philo. Okay? Nobody else. Doesn't exist. Only from Philo. So now what's interesting is, wait a second, I'm leaving someone out here, right, Tim? Oh, yeah, that's right. Jesus. It turns out Philo never mentioned him, nor related to anything that had to do with him, nor are there any gaps in any of his stories where he should be. How is it that he knows all of these disciples, all of these apostles, Everyone involved, but there's no such person as Jesus. In the year 30, Tim, how is this possible? This is amazing. This is when Jesus should have just died. And then wait a second. Philo also
33.
Philo also made the trek all the way to Jerusalem, just like Jesus. He did the same trip, met the same people, in the same places. This is incredible. How did he not meet Jesus? Oh, because it's almost the same story.
How old was Philo in the
Philo
year 30?
lived the same years as Jesus did.
So he was born when Jesus was born?
Yeah, approximately.
So he was 30 years old.
Yeah, approximately, but we really don't know because he kind of just disappears. History tells us he was killed, he was crucified.
You got to remember, Jesus really, at that time, if you're talking the year 30, if Philo was born the same year that Jesus was born, the Common Era starts.
Roughly, Tim. I don't know if it's exactly the same year.
All right.
But within 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they lived the same lifetime. They were alive at the same time, relatively the same age, meeting the same people, going the same places, writing on scriptures, interpreting them, writing on philosophers, knowing many languages, being a healer, being a keeper of knowledge, being a keeper of the Library of Alexandria. But hey, so what? The guy forgot to mention Jesus. No big deal.
Mm-hmm.
No big deal. You know, hey, maybe he didn't meet him. Maybe no one said, hey, Philo, although I'm a disciple of Jesus, maybe the two of you shouldn't talk about philosophy. Maybe the two of you shouldn't meet. Although you've walked from the same place all the way here to Jerusalem together. And we know the same people.
Patrick English in the chat room.
And we eat our dinner at the same table. I eat with these apostles, and so does Jesus, but somehow there's no conversation.
Patrick English in the chat room wrote that he's a composite of Apollonius and the great teacher of the Essenes, and perhaps Trophisus.
Thank you, Patrick. Maybe a touch of Mithra in there as well. There's a lot of it in there. There really is. But I mean, that's what it boils down to is.
Oh, wasn't Mithra a female?
But it's not terrible. What?
Am I wrong about that?
What? There's nothing wrong with that at all. What? That's one thing people forget. Women teachers, women leaders, women figures being gigantically important in early Christianity. That is another thing that has been completely swept under the carpet. I'll tell people another thing. Did anyone know that for hundreds of years, the keeper of the Library of Alexandria, they were always women for a very long time. No big deal. They were some of the best philosophers, although we don't know of them now. It's true. There's I could put a whole list together of some amazing ones.
And there were some that were martyred as well.
Know.
There were some that were considered martyrs, or
Well, we take number one. One of my most famous women from antiquity is Hypatia.
There you go.
She was one of the last keepers of the Library of Alexandria. But just what an amazing human being. For what a fantastic mind, regardless of the sexual orientation or creation of that person. It's completely irrelevant to me. It doesn't matter. A set of testicles doesn't make you any more understanding. If anything, I've learned it makes you quite the contrary. Again, you need the wisdom to rise from the beast, right? So they say, but I have to admit it's true. I watch people chase around just those desires, and they're the same people who are just never freaking happy. They just have to just endlessly fulfill temporary satisfactions. It's embarrassing. And God forbid you try to tell them about it. They don't want to hear, I just want to do it, okay? Okay, God. Well, let's see how long your happiness lasts. Let's see if you could remain happy the rest of the day because of that. Probably not. You find some, maybe I'll need some chocolate. Actually, I should have used that because my wife might kill me. She actually needs chocolate to live.
Apparently, there's a shortage of chocolate.
Don't say that, dude.
I don't know how true that is, but I did read an
That
article.
could that could really cripple my lifestyle.
I gotta Google that
I,
now.
well, I've a wife and three daughters. There's chocolate in this house, Jack.
Yeah, you're in trouble, dude.
I don't even eat chocolate, but it
The
guarantees
cocoa
a lot of it.
crisis. This is out of the Guardian. Why the world's stash of chocolate is melting away.
Like glaciers? Is there going to be like a Wonka River? I mean, come on, tell me what's the upside here, buddy?
What was biggest farmers are going. There's a global shortage by 2020. You better start stashing away chocolate. Put it in the freezer, keeping that.
What about coffee? No?
Oh no, we can't run out of coffee.
Are they different? I thought they were all kind of from the same bean, no?
I believe the coffee bean is different from the cocoa bean, but
Oh, okay.
I could be incorrect.
Tim, I learned of this fascinating coffee that's like tastes really good and it comes from like Indonesia, but the beans are they're gathered out of like this monkey's poop. Like this monkey like eats these coffee beans.
You
and
know, I
then-
saw
and
the
then they
bucket
collect
list.
those beans after it eats them, and then that's supposed to be really good coffee.
Did you ever see the movie The Bucket List with Jack Nicholson and Morgan
No.
Freeman? Well,
No, I
in that
haven't.
movie, they talk about this coffee that is South American, but apparently jaguars eat the beans, crap them out,
What?
and then they harvest the beans and
Oh no,
supposedly it's very good.
ooh,
So hey, maybe there's monkey crap beans too. I don't know.
yeah, I don't know. Now I'm questioning my source of information. I have to be careful who you hear things from.
Oh, and going back to Hypatia,
Ooh, Hypatia?
Hypatia, sorry. Olive 2M in the chat room says, Gnostic teacher, yes, there were women Gnostic teachers, lots of them, and Hypatia, she was a powerful woman teacher until the whacked out Christians killed her. She
No doubt.
wanted me to tell you that.
Yeah, absolutely. They sure did. Brutally, too. Brutally. But, yeah, it was, they were setting up the end, oh, man. It's the end of the
There it
show.
is. There it is.
Olive 2M, you were dead right. And thank you for everything. Same with Patrick English and everyone else. I love you all. Tim's going to be getting out of here, but I'm going to be sticking around. Have a good
night,
night,
everyone.
Tim C.
Thank you.